Survivors ready? Go! Welcome back to On the Raritan. I am your host, Matt DeGennaro. Today, I am joined here with my lovely co-hosts, Kevin and Logan. Say hi, you guys.
So
What's up, everybody?
Yes, it's been a long, long time since the last episode, and we are in the festive spirit, or at least I am today. So happy holidays to all of our viewers. And today we got to talk about the newest episode of Rutgers Survivor. Not everyone can win. A lot has happened. It has been a long wait, but I promise you guys, Rutgers Survivor, nowhere to hide, is here to stay. We're going to keep pumping out episodes for you guys. So without further ado, Logan, Kevin, are you guys ready to jump into the newest episode?
So
yeah,
ready.
Perfect. All right. So in today's episode of On the Raritan, a lot happens in the previous episode. Okay, so we start off for the first time in Rutgers Survivor history with a pre-challenge scramble. Now, before we dive into the contents of that, do you guys remember? I think it was us three and Marissa. I don't think Max was there. Do you guys remember why we decided to do a pre-challenge scramble by any chance? Or did we just like, screw it. Let's just do it.
I think it's because of the idol being hidden. Again, the merge idol, if I remember correctly.
That could be it, and we'll get some more on that as the episode progresses. But that's a great point, and someone does end up finding it. Maybe a little bit. Thankfully, someone did because that would have sucked if no one did. And like I said, we'll touch on that a little bit more. But for the first time ever, we do have a pre-challenge scramble, and I wrote down a lot of fun, interesting quotes that we got from it. I don't know if it was going to be, anything or not, if it was going to be a sham, but no, we got some good moments. So one thing that I really want to touch on, going right into the immediate talk is Hudson and Jaden. They talk, and I think that's the first conversation that's shown, and they both almost immediately clock that they're on the bottom. Is there anything that they can really do to save their position in the game, knowing that, the others are so close with each other? Is there any shot that they can save themselves? And I wrote down a quote. Hudson has a very great observation. He says if they were smart, that they would target him first and Jaden second. Jaden, well, for little foreshadowing, spoiler alert. Jaden, does Jaden agree with that? I don't recall exactly. Jaden is like kind of on the fence with that. What are you guys' thoughts on that specific conversation, if you remember it?
I thought it was a really funny conversation.
Hmm.
Hudson kind of just telling Jaden this, implying that he's the bigger threat than Jaden at this point. And he's such a good sport about everything, like he's not going to take that personally.
Yeah.
But it definitely foreshadows the events to come.
No, yeah, it's very interesting that now we get to see a little bit more of some game talk from Hudson that might not have been there the entirety of the season, but now like as we're coming down to the wire, we know that Hudson's head is in the game, and honestly, at this rate, he's a big threat to win. I think a lot of people on the jury would vote for Hudson to win if he's in the final tribal council. And as you said, Jaden's such a great sport. With not having the most um great knowledge of Survivor, let's say, Jaden is still making it as far as he can in this game, and he's surviving despite being on the bottom. And another funny conversation I want to bring up is Kyle Kent himself likes to rant a lot. And one moment that he has directly to the camera and to Sage during the pre-challenge scramble was that he rants that no one is doing anything right in this game. He says everyone is dumb, and he's saying that he's surprised that no one has noticed how close him, Sage, and Faith truly are in this game. So, from an e-board perspective, do you guys think that they were being super obvious with their relationship? And why were other contestants not picking up on how close the three of them actually were? What do you guys think about that? Who wants to drop some knowledge? Anyone?
Kevin, do you want to start?
yeah, I think like the only person that could have realized how close they were was Omar, but he
Mhm.
was banking on the fact that him and Kyle were so close that
Okay.
maybe it wouldn't even matter at the end.
Interesting. Logan, what do you think?
Yeah, honestly, I think that's a great point that Omar is probably the closest. He is number four in this group, but
Mhm.
that's still closer than Jaden and Hudson. So I agree with what Kevin said. I think he was banking on that Kyle relationship. But we kind of got to see Hudson and Jaden's perspective in that early scene that you talked about. And I think they understand that they're on the bottom, but it's just trying to figure out what to do to actually get out of the bottom is what they're struggling with.
Mhm. No, yeah, exactly. And ever since the merge happened, where they voted out Luke was the merge vote, correct? It just kind of was, you know, right now as it's being perceived, it's just a clean path for the trio. And Matt, and another fun thing, now that we mentioned Omar, Omar has a line. I think it's the last line before we go right into the challenge, which is Survivor Classic. He mentions, and I wrote it down, we have 4 hours to change the whole tide of this game. And now it's 6 people. So if you want to use some common sense here, is he referring to him, Hudson, and Jaden going up against, the trio? He doesn't specify, but I mean, as an e-board perspective, from as a viewer perspective, I think that's what he's implying, right? Am I correct in assuming that?
I think there definitely were some rumblings of that, and we kind of see later in the episode as well.
Yes. Hmm.
It's something that Faith and Sage were really worried about, that Omar was going to flip and force a tie,
Hmm.
and potentially we saw in season one, almost go to rocks. It's a real dangerous place to be, so they definitely want to avoid that if possible.
Yeah. Oh, Kevin, in regards to Omar, we know how the episode ends. I guess without spoiling the rest of the episode, what do you think in this scenario Omar should do if he is going to flip? How like what's this plan? What's this like magical plan Omar should come up with to better his position?
That's the issue. I don't even know like what like plan he could think of because the as we think the three is so close,
Mhm.
but there's like nothing he can actually do except try to force a tiebreaker, which isn't even like the best scenario, but that's like his only hope.
Yeah, and you both touched on it very well, where, Omar is relying on this huge relationship that he thinks he has with Kyle, but as we know, Kyle is not really reciprocating that same loyalty. Like they're almost using him in a way just to get his vote, just to advance further in the game. And by that point, it's almost too late. It really is almost too late for them to do anything. But there's still a lot of game left. There's still an immunity challenge that we're going to dive right into. There is an advantage hidden in the episode, as Logan mentioned before, that we will touch upon as well. A lot can happen. There's still a lot of game to be played. So without further ado, before we go into fan favorite Survivor Classic Challenge, untouchy subjects, is there any other pre-scramble events or conversations that we missed? Anyone?
I think we touched on it pretty well.
All right. So with that being said, we're gonna go right into on touchy subjects. We decided to change the format a little bit from season one. The season one format, we just did a point system, but for season two, we decided to do a little bit more of a fun, more accurate to Survivor, where you're gonna give people X's. In actual Survivor, they like chop rope, smash
Hmm.
skulls, or whatever, but we don't have the budget for that. So chalkboard and piece of chalk is the best that we can do. So if you don't know how untouchy subjects works, you're going to take a quiz, and the answer is going to be one of the other contestants. And then afterwards, we will ask the same questions, and you are pretty much answering what you think the majority of the group answered. And if you get it right, you get to X someone. If you get it wrong, you stand back and hope you survive. It's as simple as that. So it really is a test of social game, how well you know people, and then it just really tests your relationships, which oh my stars, we saw very well during this challenge. And to this day, one of the most infuriating moments I've ever had as an e-board member with Rutgers Survivor, combining season two and season three so far. It as host, it was infuriating to watch the whole thing go down. But uh, long story short, before we fully dive into it, Kyle wins the challenge with the most shenanigans I've ever seen possible. I mean, do any of you guys want to put into words the shenanigans of Kyle Kent during that challenge?
I think the only thing that the main thing we should highlight is that
Okay.
it went on way longer than you
Yes.
saw in the episode.
That is why I've coined it the most infuriating moment I have. Like it's in my head, I'm standing there, and props to our ed, like cut down everything, made it as quickly as possible. I'm standing there for maybe like 10, 20 minutes or so, like just waiting for people to X. And there's just so much thought. I understand it's a very strategic challenge. You want to, you know, keep in mind relationships and how people are going to react. But at a certain point, you just got to like just do it. Just rip the band-aid off, just vote for someone. But that's also on us. We did not enforce a time limit, I don't believe. We kind of wanted to just let it play out, which I think in the moment, I think we said we wanted to do, just that it could create moments like that where we see these stressful situations and stressful decisions people have to make. But then like when you're actually there filming it, it's like, oh, okay, you know what? This is like just freaking put an X somewhere. So I wrote down we're gonna play our own version of untouchy subjects. Well, actually, just between you two. I wrote down some fun questions. All right, question number one. Oh, well, okay. Kyle calls himself a narcissist in the episode. Do, do you guys agree that Kyle Kent is a narcissist? What,
Yeah.
what do you think? Kyle, I
I
know you're watching. You called yourself a narcissist in the episode. I'm just asking Ebord. We're just gauging opinions. What do you guys think?
I agree that he thinks that about himself, but
Okay. Kevin, what do you think Kyle Kent is a narcissist?
Yeah.
Well, Kyle, if you're watching this, you said it. I didn't. You said you were a narcissist. So, we're going to the next question. Untouchy subjects. We asked the question, who was the funniest contestant? The majority answered Kyle and Sage. Who do you guys think was the funniest contestant in season two? What do you think?
I feel like Kyle and Sage are pretty solid gets.
Mhm.
I think Hudson was pretty funny too. I'll give
Okay.
him the
Also, I thought Omar was pretty funny.
Omar had
Just like off-screen stuff. Like he's just like funny.
Omar did have some off-screen moments. That's the thing when we film, not everything can be shown on camera. There were a lot of great off-camera moments. Kyle made me laugh in his own way when he made fun of my facial hair, which grew out so much in this past episode. But yeah, Omar did have some great off-camera moments, and so did Hudson as well. And what was the next one? Oh, who would you want to spend time with on a deserted island? I'm not going to reveal I don't know if you guys remember the answer for this one. I don't want to let it influence your decision. So, who would you most want to spend time with on a deserted island from the season two cast?
It's a great question.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Wait, from the
Honest,
cast or just the
From
people?
season two, the cast will go. Same rules to the challenge.
those who are left in the game.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Honestly,
if there's someone that's not in the game and you want to say, I mean, we make the rules. You can go
Yeah,
for it.
I would say Giovanni.
Giovanni,
Yeah.
great answer, yeah. I would
honest.
s-
Yeah.
I would say probably Kyle. He's finding these immunity idols. I feel like you could find like fruit and stuff, kind of gatherer instincts.
You know that is a great answer, both. Now, I would say both as well, because that's great for Kyle. Kyle is so great at finding things apparently, but then Giovanni like absolutely loves anything Nintendo, and I love Nintendo as well. So I feel like I could just sit with him on like a tree stump. We could just talk games, even play video games, you know? Giovanni's a great guy.
Hmm.
Giovanni's a great guy. I've met his brother. They're great people. I hope you guys are watching this. Kevin, you met his brother too.
Yeah, he's great.
We went
Sure.
to one of their events. Definitely would recommend signing up if you guys get the chance. But is there anything else that I wrote down? No, I think that's the last question that I wanted to ask. But that's also like three of four questions we got through. And I think we were a little disappointed that we didn't get to go any further, but I think a lot of the questions were kind of straightforward. Like
Mhm.
the other question was, who has the idol, or who do you think has the idol? And everyone voted Kyle because it was common knowledge that Kyle had the idol. So, maybe as an e-board, we could have rearranged some questions, made it a little bit more, um, what's the word, suspenseful. No spoiler alert for season three. We just did an untouchy subjects challenge, I guess, and it was, in my opinion, a lot better of a result. I think Kevin can attest to that for sure. I think as a whole, that challenge went a lot more smoothly, and people were not taking 30 minutes to X a person. I think that was just my biggest gripe with the challenge. That's it. Just it was very long. It was very long, but with more for the challenge. The trio immediately targets Jaden, and Jaden is literally out within the first round. And then Hudson and Jaden immediately target Sage. So, you see the lines that are drawn already pretty much. Like it appears Jaden is already like the next one out. That's what it seems. Him and Hudson, they talked about it, but Hudson has a different perspective. And they vote out Sage. And then Sage has a really funny moment in the episode where she talks about how, she's not gonna be nice to like Omar, Jaden and Hudson because they've never been nice to her. So it's like maybe it's both ways. And like I think we haven't necessarily shown any of those moments on camera. I don't know what has happened off camera in regards to that, but that's it. Like that's very interesting to think. Don't you guys think that like how there's this, I guess, big hatred for Sage, and then they don't like Jaden either. Apparently, do you guys know anything? We're just spilling tea, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's interesting that it's always Sage that they're targeting on the
Yeah,
bottom.
yeah,
It seems like probably a testament to Faith and Kyle's social game that like they feel good enough with those two compared to Sage.
yeah. It's very interesting. And you touch on Faith's social game. I do want there's a lot I want to talk about Faith's social game during the scramble portion because she does something that's very smart, very strategic, and really balances every aspect of the game you should be playing when you're playing Survivor. Um, Last thing, I guess, before we wrap up this section, unless anyone wants to talk about it, we get to the final three of the challenge: Omar, Kyle, and Faith. And I think this is where the most waiting happens. I don't remember what the X's were on the board at the moment. I think it might have been two Omar, two Faith, one Kyle, maybe. And so pretty much, I think Faith. No, that can't be right. Omar puts an X on Faith, making it two for Faith, I think. Faith votes Omar, knocking him out of the challenge. So now I think it's two Faith, one Kyle. And then I think Kyle and Faith are like Kyle says, if you do that, I promise I will X myself. And then Kyle goes back on his word and shocks everyone in the room because that's such a ballsy thing to do. Goes back on his word in front of everyone and puts an X on Faith, winning the immunity challenge. What, first off, what were your guys' thoughts on that moment? Do you think that was a smart move for Kyle? Because yes, he did win the challenge, but he openly lied in front of everyone and also potentially puts a wrench in his biggest ally in the game with Faith. So what do you guys think of that particular move?
I think it's kind of a big swing, but we've seen these things from Kyle in the past. And especially he has an immunity idol that will expire at the next tribal council. So I'm sure from his perspective, he wants to win immunity today, save that idol, and play it in the next tribal council.
Mhm.
So I think overall this was a net positive for his game.
Okay. Kevin, what do you think? What do you think of Kyle Kent's move in the immunity challenge?
I think it's very like on par with the rest of his style of game. Like he's very like fast paced, tries to make big moves, doesn't like have any regrets. And I think that was like the perfect move for him.
Mhm. And Faith is like visibly taken aback. She says something like, "No, you're kidding," or "Are you serious?" or something along those lines. And that's like that kind of made up for me waiting a long time, or all of us waiting, just to get this challenge done. It was like, wow, that was a pretty badass move, blatantly backstabbing your ally in the challenge. But also, Kyle's only X was from himself. Kyle Kent, the person that gets all of his blood on his hands, the way you guys described him, it's totally on par with how he plays the game. Somehow only got one X, and it was from himself. Now, I think in Real Survivor, I don't think that's allowed. But once again, we didn't specify that in the rules that you couldn't vote for yourself. So in the moment, as host, you just make a snap judgment call. Like, all right, we didn't say anything. Yeah, that's fine. We can't just change the rules mid-challenge. We didn't say you can't vote for yourself, so go ahead, vote for yourself. And I guess, it can help you. I guess in Kyle's sense, it helped him because he didn't have to put blame or he didn't have to ruin a relationship by Xing someone, but it also affects him negatively because that's another X for you and only two more and you're done. So, it's a double-edged sword there. Um, that was crazy. And Kyle wins an immunity challenge. And on top of that, he also has an idol in his pocket. Let's still keep that in mind. But also, going into the scramble now, is there anything we missed on this immunity challenge? or no? Anything shocked you guys?
No, just the fact that Kyle only one X from himself. It kind of sums up everything that he's been doing so far. And it's interesting to see the players' reactions going into the scramble.
It's insane, and I guess just going into the scramble, we talk about Kyle, has one idol. Why not have two? Why not just have two? Kyle Kent finds the idol that we hid. Was this the okay, so this was the merge idol, correct? Because it was pink.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now this okay, this it's perfect. We hid this idol in the episode Luke got voted out. This was the one that was hidden during the challenge that no one found. So we wrote down the rules and we said if no one finds this idol, we will re-hide it during the next shoot in like a scramble-esque. So it would be like real Survivor where they can actually find it accidentally and not like in the beginning of the season that we gave them an allotted time and location to find it. So if you just find it naturally, you find it naturally. So Kyle finds it, and the craziest part is he finds it right in front of Jaden. He literally says, Jaden, I don't care if you see this. I think this is an advantage. I'm gonna go pick it up. He picks it up, reads it, and says it is an advantage. And the best part about this scene is Jaden asks him, when did you find that? That is the greatest part of the scene. And Kyle says, Jaden, I just found it 2 seconds ago, and points right to the seat. It is that scene is so great, and I think it goes to show you like the two different types of players. Like Jaden's here for fun. He said it so many times, and like he doesn't know the game as much, so like he's like still processing things. And then you have Kyle Kent, who's just like this savage, who's like his head is so far into the game. And I swear this is not a Kyle Kent glazing podcast. I need to stress that Kyle, I'm not trying to glaze you in any capacity. It's just like it's just what happens in the episode. It's insane. Does anyone want to talk about that? Or
It
did
was
I?
crazy.
Did I
Yeah, like the the wildest part is how close Jaden was physically to the
yeah.
idol. He was like one seat away, and yeah, you can see the moment on Kyle's face when he like
Yeah.
locks in on it and just immediately casually walks over, takes it right from under Jaden's nose. It was crazy to watch.
And that also goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning of the episode, or like this episode, where we said it's still anyone's game. There's still a lot left to be played. If the Omar, Hudson, and Jaden group trio, if they really wanted to make a move and have power in the game, that would have been the time to do so. And it's just unfortunate because that Jaden didn't see it. And then Kyle, of all people, got it, who already has so much power in the game. There is a clip of him in the episode where he's holding both of his idols and wearing the immunity necklace. That is an insane amount of power to have in the game at that point. And speaking of power in other capacities, it seems like Faith and Sage have a lot of social power within this episode. So I think it was Logan. I think you briefly mentioned something along the lines of Faith's social game, I believe, earlier in this episode. Do you want to kind of give us the rundown regarding like the rest of the scramble, or in that specific part regarding Faith and Sage and their strategies going into Tribal Council with this vote?
Yeah, so definitely want to give kudos to Sage and Faith here
Yes.
for trying to get Kyle to use one of his idols on Sage to just in case
Yeah.
Omar tries to tie it and put it on Sage. I feel like this is good on multiple angles. For Sage, of course, this is huge. Another round of immunity, and it also limits the chances of a tie. So I kudos to both of them for that.
Yeah. Do you think that was so yeah, like you said, they got Kyle to play the idol on Sage just in case Omar flips, which is smart. Do you think that was genuinely a smart play, or both of you? Do you think this was a smart play on Kyle's part to use one of his idols on Sage during the vote? Now, obviously, we know it didn't result in, it didn't result in anything important. The vote was still 4-2. But like I guess long term, his position in the game, safety, relationships with people. What do you guys think? Was that a good move on Kyle Kent's part?
I think
I think it was just because even if he saves one of his idols, he couldn't have used both of his idols on himself like the next two rounds, right? Like it would have expired beforehand. So I think it like for his own game, I think it was pretty good.
Okay. Logan, what do you think?
yeah, I echo that. Since the idols expire at the next tribal council, he only needs one to protect himself. So it's understandable that he would want to get some goodwill back with Faith and Sage
Mhm.
after what he did in the immunity challenge and kind of like burning those relationships a little bit. You can kind of work your way back in, be like, I'm playing this for the team. This is our alliance's idol.
Mhm. Do you think would you classify that as like a legitimate move that if Faith or Sage were to make it to the final tribal council, do you think that they could use that as a move? Like, hey, we convinced Kyle to use an idol that he didn't need to use. Do you think that that's a legit move that one of them could make if they make it to that point in the game?
I think you should try to claim anything that could
Okay.
like give you a leg up on your opponent in a final travel council. So I think that is something that they can use to be like, all right, Kyle was in our corner and we had him using his advantages on us. So even though we weren't finding them, it was our social game that kept us safe throughout the whole process.
Mhm. And I bring that up because there is a specific scene right after Kyle wins immunity where he acknowledges that he will not beat Faith in the end if he sits next to her. Now, I think, as far as we know at this point in the game, that he's going to intend to remain loyal to her and sit with her at the final tribal council if that is the case. But he uses this idol, and I guess if we want to claim it as Sage or Faith's move, that is a move that one of them can use against him in the end if they make it there. So at this point in the game, with as little numbers as there are, if maybe Kyle has burned bridges, like something as little as that can truly matter. And Logan, you make a great point. You need to try and claim anything. Like the jury, some jury members come in open-minded, and it's like you're in like a what's the word? You're in like a courtroom, like like you got to just pitch anything, throw anything at the wall, and see if it sticks. So that is a great point that you made. And another thing, I think one of the last things I want to touch on, unless you guys have anything before we go to tribal council, is Jaden specifically says that he wants to help Faith win this game. Whether he gets voted out, he'll make the jury vote for her, or if he stays in the game, he will do what she wants. And this goes back to what I said about Faith's incredible social game that she now has players willing to die for her and willing to do her bidding. And that is just so impressive. I think Logan, I think at one point you said like Faith has like the mist, right?
Hmm.
Or like so people will just like do whatever, and I couldn't agree more, especially at this part of the game where it seems like out of everyone we know like out of like the four in power, right? Omar's the odd man out. It seems that Kyle and Sage would both choose Faith over the other. We know Hudson and Jaden are on the bottom. So if you want to look at this totem pole of the entire tribe, it seems like Faith is in the best position, and on top of that, arguably, if not, she is playing the best social game. So now that you have a player that, spoiler alert, does not get voted out and is still in the game and is willing to die on the sword for you, that is huge. Then that is insane kudos and props to Faith. So that is something that Faith and Sage use when convincing Kyle to vote Hudson as opposed to Jaden, because Jaden would help Faith's game and would be more of a detriment to Kyle's game as opposed to keeping the other, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So, does anyone have anything they want to touch on in the scramble before we go in to the tribal council?
Yeah, I think we hit everything.
Everything was hit, hammer nail, going to tribal council. All right, we'll make this quick because we have limited time before we bring in our special guest. Um, Pretty much to sum it up, Kyle plays his idol on Sage. We did touch on that. We touched if we thought it was a good move or not, and then it begs the question now. It was 4-2. Omar didn't flip. It wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered because they played the idol on Sage, but Omar decides not to flip. And I might have missed this in the episode. Is there any particular reason that you guys can recall as to why Omar didn't flip, considering that he was talking about it at the start, where he specifically said, we have 4 hours to change the tide of this whole game? What do you guys think?
I think he kind of just got cold feet here. And there's a very interesting tidbit I want to add about Omar that did not
Yeah.
make the edit here because I filmed the voting confessionals.
Mhm.
So as far as I know, if I'm remembering correctly, Omar was not filled in, that it flipped from Jaden to Hudson.
Oh,
And so, yeah, I understand why they cut this out of the episode because it kind of is like it would complicate the narrative. But essentially, in his voting confessional, Omar told us that he didn't want to vote out Jaden and go with the group, and he also thought he didn't have the votes to take out Sage, so he voted for Hudson to kind of like throw a hinky vote out there, not knowing that his whole alliance have already flipped their votes to Hudson. So he unintentionally went with the majority.
wow. See, I did not know that. Kevin, did you know that?
I forgot about that, but yeah, that sounded familiar.
Wow. Okay, so I'm out of the loop here. Wow, look at that. That's interesting. So he still fully wanted to do Sage. He just didn't know if he had the votes, is what you're saying.
I think so. He wanted to vote Hudson,
Okay.
not as like kind of a protest vote almost, is
Okay,
how he
okay.
kind of framed it,
Okay.
because he thought that yeah, he thought they weren't going to be able to take out Sage. I think it's because of the idol situation, because I think
Um,
that was one of the reasons. Like I think they were pretty open that Kyle was going to play an idol on Sage.
okay. That's wow, that's very interesting. So there's more as if it wasn't obvious enough that the three were super close and that Omar was on the bottom of this majority alliance. It's even more apparent now that Omar is just so long gone. And I think this is the second time that I can recall that Omar gets left out of the vote. I think this the second episode of the season, the third tribal council technically, Omar tried to save Gavin but voted Lana and ended up being the only person voting for Lana, and then it was a 1-1-3 or something. It was a really confusing vote. And Omar's face during that tribal was like gold. Like his jaw like dropped. Like he was like literally covering his face. So this is the second time now that Omar has been on the wrong side of the votes. And it's oh man, Omar. Hudson gets voted out and it appears going into the next episode. Would you say that Omar is now on the bottom as opposed to Jaden? Like what's the vibe here?
It's funny because like it's one of those weird situations where in a way he was left out of the vote even
Yeah.
though he voted correctly with everybody.
Hmm.
So I feel like it could just end up being a neutral where they just target Jaden next. But Omar definitely is on the bottom there and he's definitely at risk if Jaden wins immunity or if they're like, hey, Jaden's not really much of a threat, we should take out Omar now.
Hmm, interesting. This is, man, this episode had upon rewatch, this episode had a lot more than I remembered. It was very action packed. Thank you guys for waiting patiently. The next episode's coming out very shortly. But unless you guys have anything else you want to add, we're gonna be bringing on our special guest, which was Hudson. Hudson got voted out. Unfortunately, we all love Hudson. So, is there anything else you guys want to add before we bring Hudson in?
I think we're good.
All good, Kevin. You're all good. All right. Well, that's all for the main episode discussion. In about 2 seconds, our favorite fan of the color yellow, Hudson. Hudson's going to be joining us very soon. So everyone, stay put, hang tight. We'll see you guys shortly with Hudson. If anybody has a hidden immunity idol and you want to play it, now would be the time to do so.
Yeah. I would just like to say I love all of you guys, and I think we've all played great games. I don't even think this is necessarily needed, but I'm sorry if I lied to you guys this round. But I'm gonna play this on Sage.
This is a hidden immunity idol. Any votes cast for Sage will not count. I'll read the votes. First vote, Sage, does not count. Sage, does not count.
Hudson. It's one vote, Hudson. Hudson. That's 2 votes, Hudson. Next person voted out of Rutgers Survivor, nowhere to hide. The next member of our jury, Hudson. Hudson. Bring your bandana. Hudson. Outspoken. Thank you for playing.
Welcome back to On the Raritan. I'm your host, Matt DeGennaro. Once again, joined here with my lovely co-hosts, Logan and Kevin, and this time with today's special guest, Hudson. Hudson, say hi to the camera.
Hello.
Thank you, Hudson. Happy holidays to you, first off. You doing good? How you doing?
I'm doing great. Happy holidays to you guys as well. I, holidays right now, it's a bit of a mess because the house that, I live in, we had a leak which ruined our kitchen floors. So we're going to have to be commuting down to the shore, which is where we're having Christmas this year, which is going to be annoying because commuting on Christmas Day is always a joy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have fun with
Especially
that.
to the shore.
Yeah, that is definitely going to be a little bit of a struggle, but you can watch Rutgers Survivor on the way down, right? So, before we actually get into this interview process, I believe we filmed your episode almost about a year ago now, right?
Yeah, I'd say that's right.
Yeah, it was about, I think it was the first shoot of back from winter break, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. So
Mhm.
we're currently on winter break now for you viewers at home. So we're coming up on almost the 1 year anniversary of your vote off. And have you thought about it at all? Like ever since you got voted out, like, damn, like I wish I did this differently, you know?
I mean, I've put actually a decent amount of thought into it because, I mean, like, I've been back to some of the events that you guys have done when it comes to things like, like little mini Survivor rounds or just other types of similar shows like the Traders.
Mhm.
Those events that you guys have put on, I've thought more about, if I want to like just try to do good in those ones just for fun, for not to like win anything.
Yeah.
I'm like, I might as well analyze how I did back then. And I've also just kind of like just naturally thought of it, as time progresses. You're like, I wish I did that, or I should have did this, but
And
it's not like I'm too hung up on it.
yeah, that's actually interesting because if I'm not mistaken, you didn't know anything about Survivor when you applied, right?
No, I like the most I knew was like a couple of those YouTube videos that are like top 5 best moments of Survivor when it comes to like people like breaking the challenge or something. Like not even like doing well in a challenge, just like cheating it.
Yeah. So like you like had like you kind of knew what Survivor was, but like you didn't
Yeah,
know
like
Survivor.
that's kind of how like I am with most pop culture. Like I don't know much, like I don't engage in much pop culture, but like if someone talks about pop culture to me, I'm like, okay, yeah, I've heard of that. And my mom's always like, how do you know that? I'm like, I don't know. Cultural osmosis?
So how did you end up finding the club? Like that's something I'm very interested in. Like were you looking for something along the lines of like a Survivor, like an interactive thing or
I think I mean, it's hard to remember because it's been like, you mean like a year and a half at this point,
That's
but
true. That's
I
fair.
mean,
That's fair.
it was really just, walking around the club fair at the start, just looking at all these clubs, seeing like so much of it was just, things related to either careers that I wasn't interested in or like fraternities that I wasn't interested in or clubs for people of like, different ethnicities and backgrounds, which are all cool. But like as just a white guy from New Jersey who's not really connected with any of my heritage, regardless of the fact that I'm really just like a European mutt, as my dad calls himself. I was like, I don't really have anything to bring to the table to these. So I was like more looking for, it was hard to find things that were interesting to me. And I saw the Survivor Club and I was talking with my mom about it because, coming to Rutgers, I came from a smaller high school that's, it was in Pennsylvania, but like literally right across the border from New Jersey. Like, if you know Lambertville and New Hope, it was like right by that. Um, and there were like three or two other people from my school who came to Rutgers, and I didn't really, even though my graduating class was less than 100 kids, like I still didn't really talk to them that much. So I'm coming to Rutgers not knowing anybody, still coming out of my shell socially. I think this is something that I don't know if it's like in the episodes, but I will admit, like coming into Rutgers just in general, I wasn't very like confident in being out there and talking to people, and it's something that I've been working on my whole life, and I think it's something that I'm proud of, like having achieved. But like Survivor, I was like, I really saw it and was talking to my mom about it, and we both came to the conclusion that it would be a great thing to just practice talking, like it's kind of funny to go into something that's so strategy based, so like there's a lot of lying involved if you want to really win, and just go in with the mindset of, yeah, I'm just here to talk to people, have fun. But that's literally what I did. And I mean, it worked out great for me, I think. I've met some great people, especially Jake. We're part of the same fraternity now. We still talk. It's just fun to like be able to like join a club that you just think is going to help you, like become a bit more confident, and then end up with a friend.
Hmm. No, yeah, that's actually so beautiful the way you put it, because you did mention a lot in the past episode and previously as well that you were there to have fun, which
Hmm.
is a nice change of pace from a lot of people that go in with like this killer instinct, like, oh, I'm gonna backstab, cheat, lie,
Hmm.
steal. Like I'm here to just win it all. And you come in with a different mindset, like, oh, I'm just here to have fun. I'm here to meet new people. And I think at Tribal Council, you mentioned you and Jaden didn't even care if you won. You were there to have fun. You were there to meet people. And
Hmm.
like I said, very interesting mindset. And I'm sure if Adam and Peter, if they were watching this, like they will tell you it's reasons like that why they started the club. And I wish they were here for I wish they were here to hear you say that, because they would like fall on their knees and like they would absolutely love that. So Adam and Peter, look what you guys have done. You guys have created such a fun environment, a fun, welcoming environment. And I'm so glad that you've, used Rutgers Survivor to help you in that way. And you've
Hmm.
made some great friends. And honestly, like at that point in the game, you were like you got voted out because you were the biggest threat to win.
Yeah.
Like you, I think as an e-board, you had a lot of win equity, and I was honestly cheering for you too, because like you were the underdog. And like you were, in my opinion, the biggest surprise of the season, because we knew casting you that you didn't know any experience
Hmm.
about Survivor. So I like me personally, I was very interested to see like how you would do. But then as you went on, you were very well liked, and you were creating bonds, and you were like Omar's closest ally at one point, and
Hmm.
you were on the right side of the votes on multiple occasions, only except for when the trio took over and
Yeah.
the whole power surge and struggle. So
Yeah.
like for someone that didn't know what they were doing going into it, like I got to give you props. Like you played good. You played great, and I don't want you to look down and be like, "Damn, like I wish I could have played better." Like at
Yeah.
that rate, it's just a numbers game. Like I
Hmm.
think you did everything you could have done. There's obviously a couple luck factors in play,
Yeah.
maybe with like the tribe swaps, or maybe you find the idol instead of someone else. Like there's so many other factors, but I'm so glad that you can look back on it so positively and in that light. It's so great to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, like I remember when I was going into this, like another issue that I was like worried about was like I'm not really a good liar. Like I know, it's a very social game,
Mhm.
and I've never really been just great at trying to like do that
Mhm.
stuff to do, gain a social advantage, because that's not me. And I don't think that's the greatest thing to do outside of Survivor. I'd rather just be myself instead of try to lie to get what I want. But it's like, I just kind of like went in, and then when I got voted out, some of the people, like a lot of the people from the who had gotten voted out earlier or stuff, they had like told me, we were hoping that you would have like won that. And I was like, like when I like, got the news that I was out, I was like a bit hurt. I kind of expected it. I mentioned in the episode, I was like, if they're smart, they'd probably vote me out. and they did. Um, but like I was a bit like, oh man, this sucks. I'm not in the comp. I'm not in the running anymore. But at the same time, it was nice to hear that so many other people in the group had wanted me to succeed, and I think that just kind of like you know lifted my spirits after that, even if I was not really that sad.
No, yeah, like I said, so many people wanted you to win, and if you were sitting there at the end, you probably would have won. I mean, like I don't know if uh, I don't think you lose to anyone in that scenario. I'm like trying to I don't know. I have no idea, but
Mhm.
you had a lot of win equity at that moment, and I was even gonna ask like. You did mention to Jaden that if he was smart, or if they were smart, that they would take you out first. But then you mentioned you weren't surprised. So I was going to ask, were you shocked that you got voted out? But
I
it
mean,
seems,
I think like during that day, I had kind of convinced myself that like I guess they wouldn't do that. They just go for Jaden. So like when I did hear my name be the eliminated person, I did kind of get like a little shock,
mhm,
but then like it wasn't like a complete blindside. It was just a oh
yeah.
oh yeah. But yeah, I mean like strategically, it is exactly what I would have done, and I mentioned that multiple times in the episode, I think.
Mhm. And it is a little unfortunate that the challenge was untouchy subjects because that is a very easy challenge to not necessarily like fix, but like it is a hard challenge to win if you truly are on the bottom because people.
Yeah, it's a hard challenge to win if you're on the bottom, and also as someone who for, like a lot of their life has struggled on picking up on social cues or like, getting to know people personally quickly, which is, a very key aspect of a social game like this. It was like I went into that challenge being like, "Ew, this is difficult," because it's like
Mhm.
not only do I have to like come up with these things that apply to these people, I also have to know what other people think of these people, which I mean, that's the challenge. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be challenging. You're not going to be a challenge that's like everyone just, like do whatever you want and just there's no difficulty to it. But it was still like, I still do think I came in with that with a slight disadvantage, even regardless if there was, a huge alliance forming.
Yeah, and like the untouchy subjects is designed to create cracks. It's
Hmm.
designed to maybe create new targets. So even if you are on the bottom, like that's the hope that we have with that type of challenge. And I mentioned it previously in the episode before you joined, but no spoilers. Season 3, like that, we did the challenge again, and we think it was a lot better of a result simply just because the challenge lasted more than like 4 rounds.
Yeah.
So and there were some tensions that grew from that challenge from season 3. And in season 2, we see Kyle like openly betray Faith during the challenge. So we're maybe thinking maybe that creates a rift. And that's the kind of chaos that we hope for when doing that type of challenge. So I guess before I ask more questions, Logan or Kevin, is there anything that you want to personally ask Hudson before I kind of go into like the deep dive of other questions I have?
I've got one question. Also, great to talk to you again, Hudson.
Good to
Uh,
talk to you too.
so we saw it in the episode at the beginning, Omar say that he, within the next few hours, wants to flip this game on its head. We kind of took that as maybe he would work with you and Jaden to try and flip on the trio. Were there any discussions of that between you and Omar about actually trying to split it 3-3 and force a tie at this vote?
Um, I can't recall. I mean, as we've talked about, at the start, it's been a year, so some of the stuff that wasn't included, I did rewatch the episode like today before coming on here, but like some of the stuff that y'all didn't put in there, I have kind of just forgotten by the nature of it's been college and there's other slightly more important things. But I do remember thinking once, I got out, I was like, I really do feel like Jaden and Omar are focusing too hard on trying to be like, get good with everyone instead of just like dropping everything and just trying to laser focus on getting like either Faith or Sage or Kyle out. I think that's, and I'm guilty of that too. I was a bit too trusting in them. I should have, it's all hindsight. I should have noticed. Oh, these three people are like together. Not where it's not. No one person's gonna come in and like get them to backstab each other unless something major happens. Which uh, who can we? What can I say? But like I think that was the major misplay of like the final six, just trying to like instead of like us banding together to try to take down those three, we just kind of, you know, were there.
All right. That's it.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, that is an interesting take on that. Now I guess because we're going to more some strategy, I do want to touch a little bit more on like the early parts of the game.
Hmm.
So it's very clear within the first episode that you guys unanimously decide to vote out Giovanni. So it almost seems like you guys are united. And then you go back to another tribal council where I guess we can really call it your first test of loyalty with everyone. So at that point in the early stages of the game, who would you like consider your closest ally amongst your tribe, and who was someone that you really wanted to continue to work with more as the game progressed?
I mean, to be honest, I think everyone there was like someone that I enjoyed being with. I think it's just kind of like the way that the cards fell. Like Lana and Luke ended up together and me and Omar ended up together. Like if, you know, we had just talked to each other in a different order, the card like it might have ended up differently. I think that was just kind of how we just ended up being. Maybe it was personality wise or something else, but I honestly and like Gavin wasn't even like a person that like I wanted to really vote out. It was that whole, first real vote was just a kind of a who's the like who could hurt our game the most. We didn't want anyone to go, and I think that was made pretty clear in the episode. We like, when that happened, we were like, oh, but yeah, I think that's just how it was.
Going into your second tribal council of the season where you do end up voting out Gavin, um, I think there's a moment where Omar makes a pinky promise to you, saying like he would never vote you out and like you have his loyalty, but then you guys end up voting differently. I think Gavin votes. Does Gavin vote for you, and then Omar votes for Lana, and then you?
Omar does not break his promise. That is one thing I do know.
Okay. Did were you aware that he was going to be voting Lana, but you ended up voting Gavin? So what was like the communication in that like that
Um,
scramble like?
I mean, to be real, I was like making that pinky promise, knowing that I was just, there was a chance I was going to break it. Like I was just like, this is, a part of the game. I do have to lie sometimes, I can say I'm going to make a promise, but if it is for what I think is the, better of our group, I will betray a promise if it, like helps us advance. I didn't, like want to like that whole time I was like, I don't really want to vote Lana out. I think she is going to be a valuable member of the team. Um, I just didn't think that she just wasn't someone that I wanted to vote out. So, like even if Omar, had his eyes on her, I was just like, no, I didn't want that. And honestly, I had no idea that Gavin was going to vote for me. Like, I think I didn't even like know that for like a while, and then like someone told me, I was like, he did that.
Yeah, that was the cupcakes tribal council where you guys were talking
Yeah,
about like cotton candy and all. I remember that one.
yeah,
I
that
love
was
that tribal
that
council.
was a mess.
Yeah, there was so many different moving parts going on, and then I was the lucky cameraman recording that fun conversation for 30
It was
minutes.
so funny how like we had naturally ended that conversation, and then Omar was just like, "Let's just make the most suspicious sounding thing possible." Like,
That's Survivor.
yep.
And I guess going into the next part of the game where you mentioned how, you believe you liked Alana and all of that, and she ends up getting voted out, which like you are very lucky because it very easily or it honestly like it probably would have been you considering the formation of the tribes,
Hmm.
right? If I'm not mistaken, it was you, Kyle, Sage, and Omar, correct?
Yeah.
That was your swap tribe. So like
Hmm.
you can even like agree to this. You're most likely going to be voted out because the three of them plus Faith have
Hmm.
like this core.
Yeah.
So like you're very lucky that you guys
Hmm.
ended up winning the challenge, and that challenge was very hard. It was the floor
Yeah,
maze one,
the
but you
square
were
one,
pretty
yeah.
good at it though.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like that, you do bring up a good point there. I never really considered that I probably would have been out at the time, had my team lost, which, I mean, considering that Faith was actually trying to sabotage it or whatever, if she was, like in it, that was a pretty funny moment when Sage did that.
Yeah,
But
unreal.
uh, like I think at that time I had still thought that Omar and me were like the closest together instead of, Omar trying to show favoritism towards Kyle or Sage or Faith. At that time I still believed that we had a strong bond. But yeah, that is a good point that you bring up.
No, yeah. So it ties back into what I said. Like, there's a lot of luck in the game.
Hmm.
There like
Yeah.
you need a lot of skill. You need to know what you're doing, but there is a lot of luck involved in Survivor.
Hmm.
So then I guess the merge vote happens after, and I don't recall exactly all the moments, but if I'm not mistaken, Logan or Kevin, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Is it not a 4-1 to 1 to 1? Was that the final vote for merge?
I believe so.
Yeah. Do you guys remember who Hudson voted? Or Hudson, do you remember who you voted? I don't remember.
I think I voted for Gavin. If
Oh no,
that's
the
no, not
merge
Gavin.
one.
Sorry, I don't know why I'm
Jaden
saying Gavin. I'm so bad at names.
is Jaden, right?
Yeah, Jaden.
Okay.
So I'm gonna be real. I have no idea why I did that. In
At
the
least you're
current, like I
honest.
I remember watching that episode like today because I was like I hadn't uh had time to really watch it because I've been working a lot on school stuff. But I was rewatching it. I was like, why did I? What was my goal there? Like I think it might have been like I might have made some promise with someone that I really shouldn't have made, or I might have thought that like Faith or Sage or Kyle was going to do something different, which clearly they weren't. Um, but like, I honestly don't really know why I did that, and I mean, it didn't really like it didn't affect me and Jaden's allyship ish because that was kind of the thing, not really, but like it didn't really affect that. Um, it's just I don't really know why I did that. That
So
just was like
I
useless.
filmed the voting confessionals, and if I remember right, the explanation you gave at the time was that you thought it was between Luke or Jaden, and you wanted to protect Luke, so you prefer
Yeah, that makes
it to
sense
be
because I
Jaden.
did prefer Luke over Jaden getting out because I felt that Luke had. I mean, Jaden was like me in the fact that I don't think he had watched much Survivor either. Um, and Luke, big Survivor fan, I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
So I was like, he could be helpful just in general. And we had been, close together at the very, we'd been in the same tribe for a long time compared to Jaden, who, at the start wasn't in the same tribe as me. So I felt, closer to him.
Mhm. That is good what's the word? Good detective work there, Logan, remembering that. Because like
Thank you.
that answers some questions because that tribal I remember we talked about it was very interesting. We couldn't it was like 4-1-1. It's like at that point in the game, I don't know if like you guys like knew how close they really were, but from an e-board perspective, because we see everything, we
Hmm.
know everything, we're like, all right, if they want to make a move, like this is the time. Like they
Yeah,
would need
like,
you, Jaden, Luke, and then maybe you grab Omar, but at that rate, it was I don't know.
I
Too
think it
pressured.
was really just like the night, like I was too naive at that moment, just believing kind of like what people would say at face value. I've, like that this was one of the moments that I was talking about earlier that I look back on and be like, this was really not the strategic best that I could have done, but I do also think that doing a better strategic move would have relied upon like also getting, Jaden and maybe even Omar on that, which I didn't know like they were also very much in the same situation as me.
Another thing I did want to touch on. I'm sorry I didn't bring it up sooner, but you won individual immunity in the merge
Mhm.
episode. So were you confident when we told you the challenge that it was going to be balancing? Like, are you good at balancing? And when you
I'm
did,
pretty good at balancing.
okay.
I mean, you guys cut out a lot of it afterwards of me wanting to continue balancing. In fact, I was really tempted to join the Zoom call balancing some Jenga blocks, but I didn't. I was just like, I don't know if I actually have a Jenga set at home, and I don't really want to go into the basement where it is right now because my brother's sick, and I don't want to be sick for the holidays.
Uh, the final question that I have, and I think this is the most asked question in Rutgers Survivor history, and everyone wants to know. So we have about like 5 minutes before the Zoom call ends. So as quickly as you can you give us the story with the color yellow?
Okay. So it really starts with like if you can see this image on my phone,
Yes.
this is my background, my profile picture on everything. Like excluding Instagram because I just wanted to have that be me. Like I don't show my face on like any social media at
Hmm.
all. I want to have a separate online life. But I use that image, that exact same image, as my background and profile picture on everything. It started in like sixth grade when I needed a background for my Chromebook. Um, because like
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
had
I know
Chromebooks.
that.
And then I just kind of was like, I liked lemons. I've always liked lemons. I was that type of kid where when you're like 5, you give them a lemon and they don't pucker up and think it's sour. They like sour things.
Hmm.
So I was like, I'll just have background of lemons. And then that slowly just kind of spiraled into me liking the color yellow. And then that just kind of slowly spiraled into, I go through phases of just really liking things. Like I'd show you, but my room's a mess. But I have like, since I'm at home, I have a lot of turtles
Hmm.
figurines. Like there's an image on my wall of like a little turtle thing. Here's some more turtle stuff. I love turtles. I love flags. I'm a vexillology guy, which is the study of flags. Um, I just go through phases of collecting things, and I think I just kind of settled on yellow as something that I really enjoy, and it's also just easy to like express myself. Um, and it's just kind of turned out to be funny because like people will be like, "Oh, you're that like like they remember not my name because I'm always wearing yellow." And it's really a challenge because as someone who struggles to remember names, I'm like, why can't people just wear the same color every day? Because that would be so much easier for me to remember. But yeah, I don't know. It's just really something that I find comfortable. I don't have to think too much about what I wear because it's just yellow.
Yeah.
It's kind of lazy, but it's also just it's fun for me. My mom's always begging me to wear a different color because she's like, I love you, Hudson, but I don't think it's your best color that you look the best in. I'm like, that's great, but I'm not gonna wear a different color. And she's like, "But can you please?" I'm like, no.
No, I mean, like if you know real Survivor, like Boston Rob's always wearing the Boston hat, like Rupert's always wearing the tie dye, like Jeremy's always wearing his firefighter shirt. Like you, like yellow is like your staple. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I disagree with your mom. I think yellow looks great. Yellow is actually my second
Agreed.
favorite color. Green and yellow, those are my top two, believe it or not. So I love yellow, and I think so we're crediting everything to lemons is what we're doing.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
It's funny because like sometimes people will be like, "Oh, what's your favorite fruit? Is it bananas?" I'm like, I hate bananas. Like,
Mhm.
don't even get me started on bananas. I think they taste
It,
terrible. But it's
it's all
like
it's all lemons, just
it's
lemons.
all lemons.
Okay, interesting. All right, well, with that being said, Hudson, unless you have any final remarks, or Logan or Kevin, is there anything like anyone wants to add before this episode gets wrapped up?
Just thank you so much, Hudson. You're such a joy to have on this season,
Yeah.
and I feel like you added a lot to it. So thank you. It's been good chatting with you again.
I mean, I want to thank you guys all for like running such a great season. I'm sure that, the rest of the episodes are gonna come out great. And also I'm very much looking forward to season 3. I'm probably gonna watch that. I've heard a couple of things about it from like Jake, considering that he has one of his friends is on there, I think, but not too much. Just like one thing which I'm not gonna talk about because
There
spoilers,
there
obviously.
is a yellow tribe. I will tell you that
Mm.
on season 3. So there's a yellow tribe.
I
That
might be rooting for them then.
Kevin, that yellow tribe, right?
Yeah.
That yellow tribe. That it is quite a tribe. I will say that. But anyways, with
Oh,
that
I
being
did also
said,
want to share one thing. I mean, like, it hasn't happened recently because I haven't had much time to come down here, even though I am only like 45 minutes away. But it's like one thing that my family does is every time a new episode drops, we all just like get together on the couch and just watch it on the big screen TV. And it's just a nice little fun thing that we do. Uh, and I just wanted to say that it's nice that not only have you guys created an environment where, I can meet new people, but also just where I can just spend time with my family and like they all root for me. Um, you know, even though they know I didn't win.
Adam and Peter are literally floating right now. They did not hear what you said, but I
Ascended.
promise you, like they grew wings and they're literally floating. But we legitimately have like less than a minute left on this
Right.
recording, so I don't want any of us to get cut off. So I want to just say thank you, Hudson, so much for joining us. And as Logan said, you've definitely have been such a joy, and you've added so much to this season. I hope you do come around. I hope you do come to more events, traders, maybe a future Big Brother. Kevin, I don't know if we're doing Big Brother again, or another mini Survivor, or maybe another season of Rutgers Survivor. You never know. But anyway, thank you so much, Hudson, for being a part of season 2. Logan and Kevin, thank you as always for joining me, and thank you viewers for watching and staying patient with Rutgers Survivor season 2. We will see you guys on the very next episode of On the Raritan. Have a good night and happy holidays, everyone. Survivors ready?